A rare outbreak has happened. In early April, a cruise ship sailing near Argentina reported a cluster of severe respiratory illnesses. Health authorities have now confirmed 8 cases of hantavirus, 3 of them fatal. But before you assume this is the next pandemic, you need to understand what is actually happening. The news feels scary. People died. The virus spread from person to person. Passengers are scattered across multiple countries. Hantavirus has existed for centuries. It lives in rodents, specifically in South America. The pygmy rice rat carries the Andes strain. Humans get infected when they come into contact with rodent urine, droppings, or saliva, usually through breathing in particles. Think of it like dust in the air that you inhale. The first person to get sick on the cruise ship had spent 4 months traveling through rural areas of South America, birdwatching, exploring, camping in areas where rodents live. Somewhere during those travels, he likely inhaled virus particles from infected rodent droppings. He did not even know it. The virus has an incubation period, a quiet period of up to 3 weeks. That means he felt fine for days after exposure. He boarded the ship feeling normal, no symptoms, no idea he was carrying the virus. Then it hit. Fever, muscle aches, headache, feeling ill. Then it progressed fast. Within days, pneumonia. Within a week, respiratory distress. 1 death occurred just 24 hours after a flight. That speed is what makes this virus dangerous. Here is what makes the Andes strain different from other hantaviruses. It can spread from person to person. Most hantaviruses only spread through rodent contact. You get sick from the animal, not from other people. But the Andes strain is an exception. It is the only hantavirus known to spread between humans. And that is why this outbreak feels alarming. On the cruise ship, people in close quarters, shared cabins, dining rooms, and narrow corridors were exposed to someone who was infected. But here is the critical part that changes everything. Person-to-person spread is rare, very rare. A Chilean researcher who has treated dozens of Andes patients told us that only 2 to 5% of all Andes cases come from human-to-human transmission. The rest come from rodent exposure. This is not like influenza. You do not catch this from someone coughing next to you in a grocery store. You do not catch this from touching a handrail. So who actually needs to worry? If you are not on that cruise ship and you do not live in rural Argentina or Chile, your risk is essentially zero. People who flew home from the ship are being tracked by health authorities in their home countries. 5 U.S. states are monitoring passengers. Switzerland, South Africa, Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK are doing the same. The virus did not magically spread throughout the general population. It stayed contained to the ship and the close contacts of sick people. That containment is the key difference between an outbreak and a pandemic. A pandemic requires easy person-to-person spread. A pandemic requires the virus to move through casual contact. A pandemic requires exponential growth. The Andes virus does not do any of those things. What happens inside your body? If someone did get infected with Andes virus, what would actually happen? The virus attacks your lungs and your heart. The disease typically starts with vague symptoms: fever, muscle aches, headache, chills, nausea. These symptoms feel like the flu, but then it changes. The virus causes fluid to build up inside your lungs. Your airways narrow. Breathing becomes difficult. Your heart can weaken. Shock can happen. This all happens quickly. Within days of symptom onset, a person can need intensive care. That is why early recognition and hospital care are critical. The fatality rate for Andes virus is between 30 and 40%. That is serious. That is why this virus matters. But here is what is important. The fatality rate only applies to people who are actually infected. An infection requires exposure, and exposure requires contact with the virus. If you are not exposed, you cannot be infected. And if you are not on a cruise ship in the South Atlantic, you are not exposed. If you were not on the cruise ship, you do not need to change anything. You do not need to wear a mask. You do not need to avoid public places. You do not need to panic about someone coughing near you. You do not need to assume hospitals are unsafe. If you were on the cruise ship or in close contact with someone who was, follow the guidance from health authorities in your country. Get tested if you develop symptoms. Isolate if you are positive. If you live in rural Argentina or Chile and have rodent exposure through your home, your work, or your activities, then take basic precautions. Seal gaps where rodents can enter. Use traps. Avoid disturbing areas where rodents live. If you find dead rodents, do not touch them. Call local authorities. But for the vast majority of people reading this, the risk is not zero. It is so small that it does not change your daily life. Hantavirus is serious. This outbreak is real. 3 people have died. That matters. But serious is not the same as uncontrollable. Real is not the same as spreading. This is an outbreak that is being contained. It is being traced. It is being treated. The virus is not spreading through the general population. Cases are linked to known exposures. Contact tracing is working. Every day that passes without a new unlinked case is evidence that this situation is under control. You can trust that. You can be informed without being afraid. Pay attention to official updates, trust the data, and know that for the average person, the risk remains low.